Hey everyone, this is Pretty Awesome here, and today we're just going to do a quick behind the scenes thing of episode 5. So for this I decided to actually sit down and record what was going on, except I didn't want to record all of it, so there's only about 5 hours of stuff I condensed instead of like 10. Anyways, right now I'm just kind of doing a basic outline and design of the set. You have to do the terrain editing separate from the cutscene, and I'm just kind of experimenting right now with cliffs and stuff like that, because I know since it's at the edge of the terrain that I need to create some sort of cliff formation. But it didn't really work out that so well with the cliffs painting on the terrain, so I decided to do it with some models in the cutscene editor. And I decided to do all this type of design work in the cutscene editor over something like doing it in the terrain editor, is that if I go and create like a document, like in the you see where the document files are in the left part of the screen, if I try and do a cutscene and then activate it in here, all the models from the terrain will be completely deactivated, and I'm sitting there looking at a blank terrain. Because for whatever reason, Blizzard, I don't know, was smoking crack when they made that a thing that happens. So right now I'm just creating a bunch of bushes and shrubbery and things like that to fill space and hopefully look natural. Because I had the terrain kind of going up, because you see the root textures are there, and it would kind of make things uproot the terrain a little bit. And also putting rocks under the tree, because there's a big space of just openness under it, and it wouldn't make sense that the tree kind of has the roots going up with this hole. Like there would be something growing under it that the tree growed around that would make the roots do that. And with placing things like shrubbery, you'll notice after a while I start actually scaling the meshes up a little bit bigger than they normally would. And it's kind of a nice little trick with level design that you can do to, number one, save your workload, and two, make it so that you don't have to render as much on screen. Because if you use the default scale of everything and left it the same size, you'd be spending more time putting the bushes in, and chances are people wouldn't notice, and that's also just more polygons and stuff that your card has to render, which you don't want to do. So this is me kind of putting the rocks in on the edge of the wall here. And if you notice, I'm pretty much using almost the exact same mesh for each one. That's because it's one of the destructible rocks, and also putting the tree upside down because, well, if you look at the actual texture from below and up, you actually can't see any of the trees. So I had to put them upside down and kind of make something work. They didn't really intend to design the game for you looking down, like up from below, because it's a top-down game. So it's one of those little things you have to work around. And you actually have to do a lot of that with this game, just because you're using it with, you're making machinima with it in a way that they didn't really intend you to. Even though if you look in the behind the scenes with their DVD, they talk about how it's going to be great and you can make machinima with it. But as far as I'm concerned, they have fuck all for any like type of help. Like they have one little document and you're just pretty much on your own. And you can go through the map making community and kind of find things out, but a lot of people that are using the Galaxy editor are like veterans from StarCraft 1 and doing stuff in Warcraft, so they already pretty much can open the editor and know a decent amount of what they need to do. So if you're new, it's really difficult to make anything work. Like, I think the episodes do look pretty good, but there's a lot of limitation and things I don't know how to do, and it's a lot of it's me trying to mask that. Anyways, back to this type of stuff. Here I didn't quite know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to keep having to spend more time designing a pathway with terrain, so I figured the best way would be some big rock formation with the cave. It wouldn't be completely natural. I don't think something like this would actually happen in nature. I don't understand how like the terrain would carve itself out that way, but I just did anyways because it saves time. So yeah, just placing bushes and shrubbery all around. And if you notice again, I'm using that same exact rock model because it's the destructible rocks, but I'm trying to do whatever I can to not make it look exactly the same by rotating it and scaling it. And if you pay close attention to video games and stuff like that, it's something you'll really begin to pick out quite often with this type of stuff. So now I'm getting to the point of doing some basic animation to get an idea of where my camera is going to be and if I need to adjust any of the actual like models at all, like any of the doodads on the terrain. The animating in this is really annoying, actually. Like it's straightforward in the sense that you place your points and then you tell it if you want to walk from point A to point B. The thing is only some models will actually walk along the point A to point B. And it's it's stupid annoying. So if I want to make a Zergling walk, I can't. And there's something where I can see that little grayed out record button. I still don't really understand that well enough to figure out if there's a way around it, because there's some tutorials and people talking about you can still animate stuff that way. Although it's still kind of stupid, because if you say you go from point A to point B, and it's over 5 seconds. You'll have the walks animation from that 5 seconds, but let's say 5 seconds is a lot faster than the actual model walks. So you'll have these really slow leg movements while the actual model is walking really fast, which is kind of why I prefer the method of creating points with, you know, what I was doing before, except it doesn't work with everything. So I still don't know how to do the record method. So like you'll notice with pretty much every episode, there's these weird little things that I do, or like limitations, because I just don't know the editor that well. And the resources aren't that great. Oh yeah, seizure alert. I'm recording with Bandicam, and the thing is when I play back in game, for whatever reason it does that. The only way even Fraps does it, so the only thing that I had that worked was PlayClaw, or else I couldn't record anything. The cutscene editor is really weird. Like, it's if I record the game any other way, with every other type of recording software, it's fine, but with this, I don't know, it's not. Again, right now, I was trying to add some brush and shrubbery down here, but after a while, like, I'll go back and play, and it doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, so I decided to delete it. And if you notice here, there's a waterfall coming down and stuff like that to try and make it look more natural, and create floating, because I actually came across that model and it was kind of nice. And now just putting more detail in the pond. And if you notice, I had this kind of, actually skip that part because we're getting to something more important, is now I'm kind of doing the basic camera animations. And this is something I still don't know quite a lot about, and it's another annoying thing about the editor is you would think that if you create a camera, you can see how it has that little point on the end, that I would create 2 points and then link the camera to the points and then set the amount of speed I want from it to go to point A to point B. However, it doesn't work like that because Blizzard, I don't know. So the way you actually have to animate the camera, at least to my knowledge, and I've tried everything else I can personally think of and look online for tutorials and I can't find anything, is to create 2 points, make a model walk across the 2 points like a marine, set the walk speed of the marine, then attach it to a follow path, and then on top of that, take the marine and then attach the camera to the marine, and then make sure, and that's the only way I can get the camera to animate. It's really stupid and backwards, and it makes the timeline, you can see over time it gets more and more complex, and it's dumb. And also I still don't know how to make a camera look at a specific object. So if you notice, I never do a thing where the camera, while it's moving up or down or left or right, tends to look. If you notice, it's always pretty solid and it's always looking in the same direction when it's panning. It's because I don't know how to do anything else other than that when it comes to a moving camera. And again, I can't find any resources, and when I hop in to ask anyone about the cutscene editor and you know, the map making scene, nobody really knows much about it at all, because Blizzard doesn't design any documentation for it really. They made a PDF, which is kind of helpful, but you know, it's kind of like one of those things that seems like they told one of their designers to, you know, sit and design a PDF in like 20 to 30 minutes and then shit it out on the internet, and that's our resources. So kind of frustrating. I do love making this, but it's extremely frustrating at times to really make things work. Now I'm just kind of reviewing the script every now and then and trying to get the animation right when she poops out the Crete tumor and walks away. That was probably the really most difficult part to animate and make sense. The other thing was to blink in, because there's separate models for each like animation. So the part where they actually I'm wrong, because I did that when they warped in. So yeah, the blinking in wasn't too difficult, but it was still annoying. So I have to place, there's a model of them with the blinking animation with the like particles, and then a model where they're just standing. And if you notice, like when they blink in, the way they're facing is slightly different. Like if they're looking straight, it might be slightly to the left when the blink animation stops, because I couldn't get it precise enough. There's all these little things. And also one thing that I didn't do was all these shots didn't completely match up. So you'll notice in the beginning, like when they're walking down the path to get to the queen, there's a jump cut. And if you spot it, tell me what time it's at, because it's one of those things nobody's noticed yet. There's this really big jump cut. And actually the camera changes are kind of weird too, because I had to do everything last minute. So yeah, actually right now I was doing some basic stuff of adjusting the depth of field and trying to make it look more natural, because with the StarCraft 2 depth of field amount, it doesn't look really that natural at all. It's kind of like you used a fast blur in Premiere or whatever, and that's kind of like your amount that you're going to be using. It's kind of stupid. So with this, I'm just trying to make it look as natural as possible. So if it's going to be close up, you'll notice there'll be more depth of field on a close up than something far away, because that's kind of how a real camera works, and that's how it's most natural. So that if you pay attention to that, most of it'll look pretty close to being realistic. Although this further shot is not as much as you would think it would be with the mushroom thingies. But I did try and get it as close as I can, because a foreground object would be blurred and out of focus, because you're actually focused further away and you're using a telephoto, style of lens. And any shots where things are extremely far away and there's not really much foreground and stuff like that in the frame, I decided to leave, pretty much no depth of field. And if you notice, with a lot of the shot design, I use things in the left and the right side of the frame to kind of guide your eye where I wanted it to go. And when you do that kind of stuff, you can actually get away with not completely following the rule of thirds, which is convenient, because after a while doing things only with the rule of thirds type of composition gets monotonous, and it really, I don't know, it just gets boring. So after you really learn the rule of thirds and stuff like that, and you learn how you can break it, and you know why you're breaking the rule of thirds, it can turn out really well, instead of having these stupid disjointed shots that make no sense, like 90% of machinima, unfortunately. So now I'm just doing the animations of working in the stoppers. We'll go with it. Yeah, I'm doing that part and just getting an idea of what it's going to look like, and placing it in different parts of the frame. And so now just, making it so when it gets to the part where the roaches and stuff are walking away after their conversation is done, although it doesn't make as much sense as I would like it to, it was the best way I could think to just kind of end the scene visually, because in the script that's kind of how it ends. But I just needed the characters to walk away so the stalkers could blink in. And then they do, and they have their little discussion, and yeah, it was pretty fun. And also on this one, I got to give a big thanks to Ty, because he actually sat down and wrote a majority of the script. I kind of told him the events that I wanted to happen and what I wanted to make fun of, and he just sat down and wrote it, and he doesn't even play StarCraft, so kudos to him. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and that was a quick behind the scenes on HasuCraft. We'll do another one where it's just Ty and Jesse voice acting. I don't have any other recordings of any of the other voice actors we use, just because, he's in Canada, and we're in Florida, so it doesn't quite work. So, thanks for watching, guys, and like I always like to say, stay awesome.